Hello and welcome to Three Simple Shifts to Reclaim Your Time. I'm Stephanie Simmons, Freedom Culture Queen, and we are going all in on how you can finally have more time for yourself, even if you're always busy. I'm so happy that you're here and you join me. I just want to explain what we're going to go through a little bit over the next few minutes here. So, we're going to have four short little lessons on how you can reclaim your time. And I want to first let you know about freedom culture. So, right now, it feels like a lot out in the world, and people that I meet all around are very much struggling with how to fit themselves into their lives and into the busyness of it all. And so, one of the things that I've focused on so much with Freedom Culture Academy is learning how to choose ourselves and how to put that inside our calendar first. So, I've done other videos about this too. Feel free to check them out as well. But it's not a time management problem. This is a culture problem for sure. This is very much an identity we've taken on as these busy people who don't have much time for ourselves. And that's not really fun. It's not really fun to not be able to carve out time for ourselves when we really do need it. So I think it's really important to talk about this. And I really do think that oftentimes we are simply abandoning ourselves. We are not really being true to what it is that we really want to do. So you will see in the description, perhaps even in the chat or in the comments, sorry, a link to our worksheet for this video. So we've created an amazing worksheet for you to be able to reflect on some of the questions that I'm going to ask you as we go through this. So I really hope that you're so excited to help reclaim some of your time back. Get excited about that. That's what we're here to do. So, first off, I want to ask you the question, when you're thinking about your life this week, your calendar, your schedule, everything that you've got going on, are there moments in there where you have sort of abandoned yourself? And what I mean by that is, are there times when you're like, yeah, I'd really love to do that, but I can't because I have this other thing going on? So I just want to kind of dive in right away on that question because that's going to frame everything that we're going to do here today. So, hi from the Philippines. Yes, if you're on and you're watching this at any point, please feel free to comment where you're watching from. We love to see that. So, thank you so much for doing that. Nice to see you. Um, so, yeah, where did I abandon myself this week? So, the worksheet looks like this. You'll be able to download it. It's just a one page, but it's got some really powerful questions to help you reflect on this. So, when we're thinking of, what our current identity is in our life with our time, if you're feeling like you're always pressed for time, that's probably why you're watching this video, right? Is that you just don't have enough time for yourself. But not only that, perhaps even some of the things that you actually want to do. So, what is it that's taking up your time? So, when I ask the quick sort of self audit question of where did I abandon myself this week, it's really forcing you to take a look at your entire week and say, where did I not choose me? Where did I have to set myself aside in order to be able to do all of the other things that we need to do? So, really powerful question. If you can't answer it right now, don't worry. You can reflect on this later and you can pause it. If you're watching after this live, then definitely go ahead and fill this in after. But what we really want to do is we want to shift from this sort of on call identity. And what does that even mean? So, being on call is like anytime somebody asks you for something or to do something for them or to put time into your schedule for them, we just say yes, right? We don't even really think about it. We're just like, okay, yep, it's another thing. And you just add it without even really thinking about it. And that's really an on call mentality, meaning anytime somebody asks you, you're just like, yep, okay, let's do it. Now, nothing wrong with that. I love being a bit spontaneous and being able to just be like, yeah, let's do this. But it doesn't always work when you're trying to make that time for yourself or for things that you want to do, your goals, whatever it is that you're trying to work on to improve the future, that requires time, right? So I really want to shift to more of an identity of my time is sacred. And your time is very sacred. So, what is it that you're doing with it that helps to make it feel that way? So, um, this new sort of my time is sacred identity really helps us to focus on feeling like our time is really precious. So, and if our time is so precious, then how can we just commit it to anything? We wouldn't then just be like, okay, yep, whatever it is, I'm there, I'm in. It really forces us to take a step back and really assess what we're putting into what we're using our time for. So, where does your time go every single day? What is it that we're selecting and putting into our life? Now, I think most people don't really feel like they have a lot of control over this, especially if you have like a 9 to 5 job, for example. So, if have a 9 to 5 job, those 8 hours or whatever, however many hours it is that you're working, don't really feel like you have much flexibility around that. And I can certainly understand that too. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I really want you to consider all of the other hours. So everything outside of those hours that really don't have much control over because you need to show up, make money, and live your life and all of those things, be able to pay for things. I totally understand that. Um, but it's more about the other time. So everything outside of that block of time that is reserved for work, excuse me, we're going to focus on that time. So when you're finished work, what does your evening look like? What does your weekends look like? Whether you work shift work or not, you might have, a Monday during the day off because you're working nights. Like, who knows, right? So when you set aside the time for work, everything else outside of that becomes sort of what's available to you to choose from in order to um, use that time as wisely as possible. So when we look at all of those pockets of time, where are we scheduling ourselves in there? So I really want to get into the habit of doing that first before you're taking on everything else. So before you commit to, oh, yeah, I can help you with that. I can be there at whatever time on whatever day. Have you actually looked at scheduling some time for yourself first in that same identity of my time is sacred and I protect my time? I really would love for you to think of it from that way because if you were thinking of it from a perspective of my time is sacred, would you really be then just giving it away to things that really aren't impacting your life in a positive way or aren't moving you forward towards future goals or whatever it is that you have that you are trying to do? And we really need to think about it this way. So, um, in thinking of your time as being sacred, I want you to choose one small renegotiation this week where you can choose to um, how do I say this properly? So renegotiating meaning what have you got currently? Take a look at what's in your schedule. If you don't use a schedule, you kind of know what you have to do this week. But taking a look at that and saying, okay, what there can I actually renegotiate? What can I remove? What can I ask someone else to do? We really do need to start leaning on more people. We need to start asking other people for help. But not only that, we need to start shifting the responsibility back to where it belongs. So, as women this day and age, we've taken on a lot. I think it's all around you. I think it's very prevalent in many women that you talk to. We are all really busy. We have taken on roles that really aren't ours to take on in many ways. And when we really start to look at that, it becomes very obvious that what we really need to do is start to give that responsibility back to who it belongs to, whether it's our children, our spouses, our siblings, our parents, whatever it is, anywhere where we can sort of place that back to where it belongs. That is actually one of the best ways to free up a lot of time for yourself because we've gotten into these patterns of just accepting that because we're really great at it and we can do it quickly and maybe more efficiently even because sometimes that's why we do things, right? Is because we can do it faster and easier. It's easier for us to do it than to explain someone else to do it or to watch them fumble through it. I absolutely feel that. I get it. But that doesn't give us our time, and we need to let them figure it out. We need to let them learn. We need to show them that this is their life too and they need to contribute to that. So whether you're a mom, a wife, like whatever it is, there are other people in your life that can do things, right, that can contribute to the household, to even at work. I mean, there's certainly areas at work where we end up taking on things that aren't ours, so let's give it back. let's just give it back to where it came from because it isn't ours, right? Excuse me. So, um, if you're looking at the worksheet, that's in section two, where we start to create this new identity. So, this new identity of my time is sacred, what does that look like for you? And I really want you to consider that when you're thinking about, what would my identity be if I was someone who actually had time freedom? So this comes up for me a lot because a lot of people who talk to me think that I'm still the same really, really busy person that I was. And it's not that I'm not busy. Okay. I'm a mom of six. I'm an entrepreneur. I have lots of things going on. My kids have sports, there's all these things, right? Um, and I'm very committed to those things and I'm involved. But I have structured my work now in such a way that I have time freedom during the day. Like right now, they're at school. The house is quiet. I'm in my office at home and I'm able to be here with you on live. It's just a random Tuesday for me. And I'm here because I want to be here. This is how I've structured my life. And it's funny because, lots of people assume that you're still in the same place that you were. And I totally understand why. And for the most part, a lot of people that I know are still in the same place, still struggling with time, still not having the time for themselves. And I just don't want that for people going forward. That's part of my mission at Freedom Culture and Freedom Culture Academy is to help people have more freedom. And mostly it does start with time because we need time in order to be able to create the other kinds of freedoms that we'll talk about too, whether it's financial freedom or just being able to go places, have location freedom, being able to travel, perhaps do your work wherever you want. And those kinds of freedoms are really fun and important. And I really do think that more and more people are craving that now, craving just to be able to work how you want and to experience life the way that you want to. So the next part is I want to look at why, we keep pushing these things off until later. So, when you said you're going to do this thing and you're like, well, next week, it's going to be next week. Yeah, next week, I'm going to figure out the time and maybe we actually end up doing it. But I think there's a lot of things that we haven't done yet that we've been putting off until later, right? Later really doesn't work because it ends up just being this thing out there that is on our mental to-do list that we just can't shake, right? That's there and we feel like it's always undone. There's always something that we need to do still. So what if we instead started actively creating these pockets of time for us to do those things or for us to choose whatever it is we want to do in that pocket of time? So what I've also provided on the worksheet is just a little chart where you can name a date and time and actually choose that pocket of time and what you are not going to do in that time. So some of the most successful people that I know do this all the time. They actually schedule this in their calendar, and it is time where they are not going to be interrupted. So there's a lot of people who, when they're working, for example, they will schedule time where they are not to be interrupted. And you know what that's like as like a parent or in a busy workplace or whatever, but everybody knows it because they've announced it. This is what I'm doing. This is how I need this to be. This is what I'm asking of you. Please don't interrupt me during this time. And what I'm asking of you is to choose a pocket of time where you can make this happen for yourself. And you can decide what goes in that pocket. So if you really need some time for yourself to just reflect, to just be able to sit with yourself and be able to have quiet time, adults are no different from kids. We all need that quiet time to like just reset and kind of regulate ourselves, right? To be able to function, to be able to be our best. We need to have that sort of downtime, right? Um, and that can be what's inside your pocket, or it could also be a time for you to really assess okay, how's the week going? What is still left to do? Where am I putting these things? It could just be a time uninterrupted for you to actually, figure that out and make sure that you're on track. Um, but I do want to also just reiterate again that that's not necessarily just a time management thing, right? If I was just sitting here talking about time management, people would just be bored to death, right? It's not just time management. I think we all have the ability to manage our time fantastically. It's just that we've put too much in there and too many things that don't belong to us. So I think it's going back to the whole idea of freedom culture, which is freeing ourselves from the things that aren't ours, that we feel like we are responsible for, but we're really not. Let's assess that. Let's really take a hard look at it and say, okay, what am I really doing all the time that's not really my task to do, that someone else could definitely do? And let's let them. We have to let them. We have to trust that it's going to be fine. And you know what? If they make a mistake, that's theirs. It's their learning. And if it's something really important that if somebody messed it up, it would really, really, you know, fumble things, then of course we can still continue to do that. But I really do think that it's important for us to place some of this weight on other people because we've taken on too much. We have. We just have. So that's the next thing to do is to name this pocket, what's not allowed in that pocket of time. So if you decide, let's give an example here. If you decide that you're going to set aside 30 minutes every Friday, let's do 60 minutes, 1 hour every Friday as you time, and you're going to use it to go get your nails done. I don't know. I'm just picking something. But during that time, this is like a self care item, right? During that time, you're going to be on Do Not Disturb. You're going to put your device on Do Not Disturb, maybe not even bring it with you. And you're going to enjoy that time uninterrupted. Maybe you'll talk to the person doing your nails. Maybe you'll read a book while you're getting a pedicure, whatever it is. But you can understand where I'm going here is that it's uninterrupted time. It's you time. Now, it doesn't have to be what you use that pocket of time for. It's just an example. It could be that you actually do want to sit in quiet. Maybe you want to be uninterrupted and you put a sign on your door. Like I've literally put a sign on my office door. Do not disturb. I'm doing something, whatever it is. They don't need to know what it is. But if I say that, you have to respect it. And it's teaching people how to interact with us. So, every morning, it could be the first hour of your workday, you are uninterrupted because you're going to read your emails. You're going to get regulated for the day. You're going to understand what you have on your plate. You're going to catch up on some reading to make sure that you are okay. Now I'm all caught up. I know what we need to do today. Here we go. A lot of people do that in their workday. They're like, this is uninterrupted time for this. But we live in such a world where everything needs to happen quickly, right? And everybody wants a response right away. And we're training them how to interact with us based on how we respond. If we respond right away all of the time, that's their expectation, right? And sometimes we have to, sometimes there are urgent things, but most of the time, I would say those things can probably wait. It can wait a half an hour or even an hour or maybe till this afternoon. So I think it's just about really taking a look at, how are we interacting with the people in our lives and people who expect things from us? And how can we start to make sure that we are inside of that as well, that we make time for ourselves and that we have placed our desired, expectations of people out there as well. We need to make sure that we're including that people know that, no, I don't like that actually. I'm not going to do that. And have some really good boundaries. I think that's really important. So we're naming the pocket of time. And this is what we're going to call the freedom pocket. So every week, whether it's every day, you get to choose here. This is entirely up to you, right? It's up to you whether you do this or not. That's called freedom. Just because I'm saying this is something great for you, you got to choose it. But you get to. That's freedom. You get to choose it. So if you put it daily, if it's weekly, whatever it is, maybe it's early Saturday morning, you want to have time to go for a walk with a coffee or whatever it is, right? Uninterrupted time. And everybody knows, they all know now that that time is yours and they're not going to call you during that time. They're not going to try to reach you during that time because we've trained them to do that. And I think that's really important here. So let's talk about these 3 simple shifts that I've just gone over. I want to sort of recap this a little bit. First, we've really talked about what the idea of freedom culture is. We've talked about, it being a bit more of a cultural problem that we need to really fix. It's not just that we don't know how to manage our time, because that's not always very accurate. Sometimes, sure. But most of the time it is that we are, taking on all of these extra things, or we're not really balancing the load between the people in our lives that can help us. And what is the problem with asking for help anyway? Why aren't we doing it more? There is never a time where people are going to be like, no, I'm not going to help you. Have you ever asked someone for help Like, sincerely ask them and they've told you no, you're like, no. It really doesn't happen very often because most people want to help. Most people want to help you. And we want to help. That's why we're so busy because we want to help people. We want to do those things. But we aren't always letting people help us. So I just want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, let other people help you. Let other people take some of these things off your plate. It is very freeing indeed. And I'm still working on this too. I'm still working on this with my kids. I have a lot of them, and giving them more responsibility is less things for me to do. And it's totally great for them, right? It's great for them to be involved in the household, and if you're doing a great job of that, congratulations to you, because it is very freeing also, right? Um, so that's the first thing, is that we really need to reflect on, what kind of culture have I created in my life that has created this situation where I don't have enough time. So what is it that's creating that? And and that audit question of, where did I abandon myself in that? So inside of that, and that's a very strong word, right? Abandon myself. But I'm using that term because that's what we're doing. Every single time we put something in front of our needs, we are abandoning ourselves a little bit. And we need to take care of ourselves. Eventually, if we don't, we're not going to be healthy. We're not going to be strong enough. We're not going to be able to take care of the people we love because we have abandoned ourselves too much. And I don't want to see that happen. So if you're hearing this message early on, wonderful. Let's take care of that. Let's stop abandoning ourselves. So that's the first piece, is um, let's start really choosing ourselves and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves first. Because again, you can't pour from an empty cup and all of that. It's absolutely true. And when you really think about it, if you continue on this path the way you are, the way things are right now, what does this look like 1 year, 2 year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Do you think you're going to be well rested? Do you think your health is going to be good? Like, if you look down the line, if you continue on the way things are right now, what does that look like for you? And I don't know what position you're in when you listen to this, right? I don't know what it looks like for you, but probably you're watching this video because you don't have enough time and you just want to figure this out. So it really starts with that core piece, is, what have I chosen? And it's all a choice for us. That's one thing I want everybody to realize too, is that we have chosen everything that's in your life right here, right now. It was a choice at some point. Um, and lots of people don't believe that. Okay, but that's a deeper conversation for another day. So that's the first piece that I really want to make sure that we dive deep on, answer the questions, what did I say yes to that wasn't truly mine? Right? That's the second question on the worksheet, is part of this first part. The second part is all around that identity and boundaries. So, how can I create this new identity where my time is sacred, where my time is important, my time is means something? And how can I set those boundaries where I let people know that I believe it's important? My time is important. It's not just, you know, to be used up by other people who don't care about it. So let's make sure that's not happening, right? So how can my time be more sacred? Um, how can I create um, this identity of, I'm someone who has time freedom, whether it be 1 day a week where that's actually yours. I know lots of people who don't even have a day off. Their day off is filled with things they have to do for other people. And I totally respect people who volunteer. I respect people who spend their time trying to make a difference in this world. That's all very noble and it's amazing. But we can't forget ourselves, because that won't continue either if we don't take care of ourselves. We have to make this time. Okay. So it's really important that we pay attention to this second point here, is that identity of, who is it that you want to be actually? Do you want to be someone who's always rushed, who can never really focus on the person talking to you at the time? You ever meet those people where you're just like trying to have a conversation with them and you're like, yeah, no, they're not listening at all. Nope. Okay, it's nice to see you. They don't even realize that you're saying goodbye because they're already on to the next like thing. But they asked you how you were. And then you try and answer and like they're gone. They're on their phone, or they're, thinking about the next thing. Hey, I gotta go take care of this. And it's like, okay, wow. You know, and they're not really present with you. And is that something that you want to, maybe you are that person, or maybe you know that person and you're like, And so have them watch this video. But I don't want to be that person. I do want to be present with people around me. I catch myself all the time. It's a somewhat has it becomes a habit that we can break easily, but I can still catch myself every now and then. Like I'm not really listening to my kid who's trying to explain something to me. I'm thinking about like, oh, I have to, do this thing over here. But that thing can wait. We need to focus. We need to be able to give people our time and attention too, right? And if we're so busy, we can't do that either. So this is all just like win-win-win situation. So if we can fit ourselves in, right? Focus on what it is that we need, and make sure we're fitting that in. And then this identity of my time is truly sacred. It doesn't just get given wherever, and we really start to pay more attention to where we are giving our time. Do a bit of a time audit. See where you're spending your time. If you're giving it all to, volunteering and it's really stressing you out, maybe reduce your hours a bit. If you're giving it all to a Netflix series that actually, when you watch it, really makes you feel bad, let's think about that, right? I'm paying more and more attention to what I'm watching, and when things really aren't making me feel good, I'm deciding to choose something different or do something different. And it's been a really powerful thing because I wasn't really paying attention to that before. Um, so then we are creating this new identity and setting boundaries. And then the third piece is creating that time for yourself, choosing actually taking action and creating that freedom pocket for yourself. So, what does that pocket look like? Choose it, name it, let everybody know about it. So, everybody in your life, let them know I'm doing this and I'm going to do it, whether it's every week or every day or every weekend, whatever it is. Choose that for yourself and announce it, make it known. Let everybody know that this is what I'm doing and I'm doing it for me and it's okay. And we don't need their permission, right? We don't need permission to create something different in our lives. We don't need anybody's permission to do that. We don't need anyone's permission to choose ourselves. That's something we're supposed to do. That is a should. You should be taking care of yourself. You should be putting yourself first. And when I say put yourself first, it doesn't mean, well, I'm gonna, I need more sleep this morning, so I'm gonna ignore my kid and like go back to bed. Like, it's not exactly what I'm saying, right? But if we do need more sleep, how can we create that for ourselves? How can we choose that? How can we make smarter decisions so that we are feeling more rested, so that we are getting the sleep that we need? I think that's really important. So I've just sort of recapped what we've talked about there. And when we start to step into this idea of having more freedom, this idea of being able to move ourselves into a place where we actually are starting to feel like we've given ourselves that and we've created this sort of culture of freedom in our lives, it's a really special place to be. And it's not just with your time, right? We can take this way further and talk about how this impacts your money and how it impacts everything. When you start to take control of your time, you start to be able to actually have new ideas, right? Because now you're not so stressed about your time. You have new ideas, you start to do different things, you open yourself up to new opportunities, because that time allows you to do that. It allows you to feel more aligned with what it is you're trying to do in your life. So I just wanted to share that, it's not always like this quick, easy thing to do. When I said, welcome to 3 simple shifts to reclaim your time, this is supposed to be in 60 minutes or less. And absolutely, if you do those 3 things that I just gave you to do on that worksheet, you will start to refocus and you will create more time for yourself. And I really think that by doing and actually taking the action, it's not just about listening to this video. You know, if you didn't listen to this video again, but you took this worksheet and you actually like did the work, you're going to absolutely stop ignoring yourself. You're going to make time for yourself. You're going to actively choose the identity that you want. And that's a really important thing to do. So if you do nothing else, answer the questions on this worksheet. And in this sort of last little section, I want you to think about what your life would actually look like if you did live in a culture of freedom. Meaning, everything that's in your life right now, as you envision it in the future, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Are you someone who all of a sudden has all of this time where you can, you know, you don't even have to schedule anything because you can just do what you want to do. Some days, um, I really have nothing in my schedule um, during the day, and some days I'll leave it that way, and then I intentionally don't place anything else there for that day. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to decide what this day is going to look like, and I get to choose that day. And man, I really do want to do that every single day. I'm not there yet, but most days, most weekdays, I do have a lot of freedom with that choice. And it feels so amazing. Wasn't always that way, of course. I've had to move some things out of the way. I've had to make some really big decisions in my life. Last year, I closed a business that was taking up a lot of my time, and I didn't really feel like um, the cost benefit was there. I was giving so much of my time, but I wasn't really receiving the income that I wanted to go with it. I knew that I could do something more impactful with my time. And so that was a huge decision. It didn't happen in 60 minutes from watching a YouTube video, but it was because I stayed in this idea of I want to make time my own. I want to be able to create the day that I want to live every day. So, how can I move closer to that? And it became very clear that I needed to let go of that business because it was taking up so much of my time and I wasn't happy doing it. Um, and there's lots of people who believe that work is work, and you're not going to enjoy your work and you just have to do it. I don't agree with that at all. I do think that you can enjoy your work. I do think that there is a way for us to live this life of a bit of balance between, work and life, but do they even have to be so separate? Right now, even talking to you on this video right now, I feel in such alignment with what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to share this message with everyone. And if you only take one thing away from this video, or even if nothing in here is for you, but you shared it with a friend who you know could impact them, I mean, that's the most amazing thing, right? What more could I ask for? Um, and I think that when we start to really understand that our life is just made up of all of our decisions, right? All of our choices over the years have landed us right here where we are. And if we don't like where we are, it's our responsibility to change that. And we can, we absolutely can. I always love the saying, you're always one decision away from a totally different life. It is absolutely true. I've chosen some things in my life that have completely altered my life. And some of those were on the other side of the decision was the most freedom I've ever felt in my life. And it's like an intense feeling. Um, so I really do think it's possible for everyone. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this work is ongoing work, right? When we start to choose freedom in our life, we have to start to choose that every day. We have to start to choose that over time, because it really is. It's us reflecting. It's us becoming aware of what it is in our life that we don't want, what we do want. Sometimes that takes a bit of time, um, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I just want to invite you into that. We have some programs that can assist you with that. And I really would love to see you in there. We'll provide more information in the links below the video. But I do want to say that we have a new program called the Freedom Shift. And this is designed to be a 6-month time of transformation. And it goes through all of the freedom. So we're not just talking about your time. If you want to go deeper in this and you are starting to see a vision of your life where you're not just free with your time, maybe you're working in 9 to 5 and you really don't like it. And you're like, I really need to figure out something different to do. Um, we go through an expansive experience in 6 months where you can start to select the things that you want into your life. And you can start to shift into an identity of someone who actually has freedom, who really does experience not just time freedom, financial freedom, spiritual freedom, the ability to be able to free your mind from all of the things we've been carrying all of these years. Oftentimes the things we're carrying really don't belong to us. And the ideas that shape our lives aren't always our ideas. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that and we start to assess that, start to like really pick it apart and say, was this my choice? Is the job that I'm doing, was that my choice or was that my parents' idea? And I've hung on to it for the last 10 years or 15 or 20, whatever it is. Oftentimes a little bit later in life, we feel a little more empowered to start to look at those things and choose something different. If you've been doing something for the last 5 years, think about the last 5 years of your life. Are you really happy with the work that you're doing? And I'm not just talking about the impact you're making on other people, but does it actually truly make you feel good? Is the work that you're doing just work that you're doing so that you can get paid and pay your bills and live your life? Because when we're trading that kind of energy for money, right? It's a negative because we don't love it. We really don't love it. We're just doing it to be able to live. And that is a tough place to be because it just contributes more and more to our unhappiness. And our happiness is our responsibility. That's ours. No one else can make us happy truly. They can do things that bring us joy, absolutely, but that's a choice still, whether or not we find that joyful, whether or not we are happy with that. That's our choice. It's our choice and how we respond to that. So, our own happiness, if we don't like our job, if our time is being consumed in ways that we feel that we don't have control over, I'd have to say that I absolutely disagree with that in every way. The time that we spend, that's all a choice. If we choose to be there for our kids, for their, whatever it is they've got going on, that's a choice. We can choose to not do that. Would that make us a great parent? Probably no, because we want to be there for them. But sometimes we have to choose other things. Sometimes we can't be there for everything, and that's okay. We can't be there for every single thing in someone else's life. Our children's lives are their own as well. And we can't be there for every single experience they have their whole life. You know, that's a bit too much control, right? Doesn't mean we can't witness it or hear about it after. If we can't make it to it, we have to stop beating ourselves up about that. We can't always be there for everything. And when it comes to our parents, same thing too. We can't always, do everything and be everything to everyone. And that's okay. We need to learn how to give ourselves more grace around that. It's something I've struggled with too, is just like, I want to be there for everything, mostly because I enjoy it, being there to see everything that they're going through. But I do think that when I do decide to choose myself because I need to, I know when I need time, when I just need to take time for myself. I know when that happens because I feel it and I'm aware of it and I listen to it. And then I take that time. I have to. And that's not negotiable. And I really want you to think about what's not negotiable for you. So as we sort of wrap up here and think about, what would it look like if you committed to a culture of freedom in your life? What would be different by the end of this year? What would be different in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? If you actually said, you know what, I'm so tired, and you could just be tired. Nothing has to follow that. Maybe you're just tired. And if you are, you're exhausted because there's things in your life that don't fit, that aren't really yours. And I don't mean that they're someone else's responsibility necessarily, but they could be. But what I mean when they're not yours is they're not, if you had every choice in the world, would you choose that? If you could choose anything, would you choose it? And if the answer is no, then it's why is it still there? And we have to ask ourselves that all of the time. It's like a constant audit that we need to do. Maybe every few months or whatever. It's like, okay, did I slip back down to, putting things in here just to fill my time? I used to get really uncomfortable when I started having this time freedom and I closed my business and I'm like, okay, now I don't have that. I have all this time. It felt fairly uncomfortable because I was so used to just running, 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 running all the time, every day, from morning till night. So having that time, I had to say, okay, why is this feeling uncomfortable for me? And I knew it was because I was used to running on the hamster wheel. I was used to just having things in my life. And at first, I thought, you know what? No, I can't do this time thing. Like, there's just too much free time here. I got to fill it with something. And I tried. I filled it. I tried to fill it. And then, of course, what happens? I get back to the same place where I feel overwhelmed. I feel a bit burnout. I'm like, no, okay. See what I did there? I removed something that was taking up so much of my time that I wasn't enjoying, and then I replaced it with something else just to fill the time because I wasn't used to having time. And it took a while. So just now, I would say, so this is what, 9 months later, since I closed that business, where I've actually have time freedom, where I'm like now just like, okay, I'm okay with this. This feels actually really good. Why does this feel so amazing? Where I can actually spend time doing things that I like without feeling guilty like I should be doing something. Oftentimes we're really tied to productivity, and we got to be careful about that because our life, our value for our lives isn't placed on how much we can produce, right? Our value in life isn't like, well, what can I do? How much can I get done for not just other people, but for work, but for whatever it is. And how are we measuring ourselves based on that? Are we measuring ourselves based on what's left on our to-do list at the end of the day? Making sure we get it all done. And if we do get it all done, do we get some kind of like silent yellow star? Probably not, right? And like, when is that to-do list ever empty anyway? It's not, there's always things to do tomorrow. We know that there's things to do tomorrow, but wouldn't it be like amazing if there wasn't? Like, what if tomorrow we're just like, no, I actually have nothing to do tomorrow. There might still be things to do, but that's for the future. If tomorrow I decide, you know what? No, tomorrow is going to be a day where I'm not checking things off a list. I'm just going to be. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. There are no prerequisites to that. I can just do it. It's very freeing. It's amazing. So if any of that sounds like some kind of life that you want to have, I want to invite you inside the Freedom Shift. We'll give you more information about it. We have a link to a page that gives you more information about it. But the invitation into that is really a life altering decision. When people say, I don't like what's going on in my life right now, they can say that, but in order to be truly aware of that, what is the next step is, of course, is action. Where are we going to be if we don't make any changes? Where are we going to be if we decide to stay exactly as we are? Um, Typically, there'll be a decline, right? Because if we're in a place where what we're doing is not working, we know it's not working. It's just that it's so subtle every day that we don't see the buildup, but it is building up. It 100% is going to build up, and it's going to become something that becomes a real problem, whether we have a health issue around it. Because if we aren't feeling good in what we're doing every single day, if it's stressing us out, if it's feeling that's not going to just automatically get better unless we decide to make it better. And you have the power to make those decisions. And I want you to harness that power. I want you to take it upon yourself to go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I really do want this for myself. I do really want to have freedom. So the Freedom Shift is all about looking at all areas of your life. It's not just about your time. It's not just about your money, although there's many ways where we can help with that, where we can help with your money, and looking at money in a very different way. Looking at your relationship with money. If you're in this place where you just never have enough money, um, the Freedom Shift, it's there for you. It is there for you to be able to start to shift into a place and a new idea of, I'm not going to be this broke person all the time. I'm not going to be this person who's constantly struggling with money. This is a choice you get to make. And I just want to invite you to make it. So thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate your time, because if you are watching this and you have issues with time, I really do. I do know that if you do the things in the worksheet, um, and if you're so bold as to step into the Freedom Shift program, I know that it is going to help you. I already know that. I'm 100% certain. If you do the work, it will come. Most importantly, though, accepting the new identity as someone who doesn't struggle with time, someone who does not struggle to make decisions about where your time goes. And that goes true for every other area of freedom as well. It's a decision that you need to make. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. And I hope you step into freedom culture, because it's an amazing place to be and you deserve it. It's for you.